Okay, this isn't nerve-wracking at all. Oh, I moved there? Okay. This is a bit awkward. I thought I'd have a speech by now, but I don't. So I'm just going to wing this. I'm just kidding. Hi, my name's Jithen. Some of you know me, some of you don't. I'm 22 years old, and I have ADHD and severe depression. I chose the topic Master of None because ADHD and severe depression sometimes make me feel like I'm a master of none. But don't worry, I'm gonna try and not bum you guys out, but I will share with you what it's like to be me. ADHD stands for Attention Deficit Hyperactivity Disorder, and some of the common symptoms of ADHD or the characteristics of people that have it involve impulsiveness, disorganization, and problems prioritizing, poor time management skills, sorry about that, poor planning, low tolerance of frustration, and difficulty managing complex emotions. So this is what my brain is like. I'm either utterly obsessed or completely uninterested, and dealing with that can be quite challenging. A popular misconception about ADHD is that it makes people unintelligent, or it makes them unable or incapable of learning or retaining knowledge, but that could not be more far from the truth. It's not about not knowing something, it's about not being able to do what you already know, because it's very hard to organize your thoughts sometimes. Moreover, it's not just a learning disability, it seeps into your everyday life and has real-world consequences. For example, I have a very horrible sense of time management, and I'm horrible at reading social cues. So if there's someone in the audience, or if there's someone here that dislikes me or is annoyed with me or even likes me, but has failed to communicate that verbally, I probably have no idea. Also, ADHD has a broad range of symptoms, so they tend to manifest themselves in different ways. This is my own personal take on it, but there'll be people that you know with ADHD, and they'll deal with it differently, and they'll have different characteristics and symptoms based on who they are and how they were brought up. So this is just my take on it. Onward to depression. Like I mentioned before, I was diagnosed with severe depression, and I'm sure most of you have been depressed at some point in your life. So it's not like this is something that's alien to you. But there's a massive difference between being depressed and having depression. The major difference being that depression is something that stays with you throughout your life, whereas being depressed is just a phase. Or so I've been told. Thus, people with depression tend to look morose, apathetic, lazy, irritable, or constantly tired. And the textbook definition of depression is that it's a common, and I stress common, mental disorder characterized by sadness, loss of interest or pleasure, feelings of guilt or low self-worth, disturbed sleep or appetite, feelings of tiredness, and poor concentration. For example, when I was first diagnosed with depression, one of the key things I was asked was whether I enjoyed doing the things that I used to enjoy. And much to my dismay, the answer was a resounding no. I thought about all the plans that I'd made with people I cared about, like over the past couple of months, that I just bailed on, all the things I wanted to do with my life that I just didn't do, and all the books that I just stacked up and hadn't read and gotten to. That's when I realized that there's probably something, it made me wonder whether I was just really bad at life or whether there was an underlying problem that I needed to deal with. So this is what I'm like on a regular day. There's more hours spent thinking about doing things or mustering up like the motivation to do things than actually doing things. So there's a lot of stress that goes on to that. If my roommate's in here, I hope that explains most of my behavior. Most of it, not all of it. But there is something that I want to clarify. I'm not always sad, I'm not always irritable, and I'm not always unenergetic. I have fun, I care about things, I'm functional just like everyone else. It's just my approach to being functional like everyone else that it's not as straightforward as yours. That's the only difference. It's a daily struggle, but it's not impossible. For example, I'm here right now talking to you about this, resisting the urge to curl up into a blanket burrito and binge watch Luke Cage on Netflix. So it's all about having a purpose. It helps keep me going. Although I don't know why you're here and not watching Luke Cage on Netflix right now. Even when I'm having a good day, this is what I'm like. I tend to focus more on the fact that this might not last as opposed to actually enjoying myself. There might be some people in the audience that might want to suggest that I cheer up or look on the bright side of things, like that never occurred to me before. The thing about depression is that it doesn't just go away, it stays with you. And you just have to learn to live with it. The road to recovery isn't as straightforward as it might seem. There's ups and downs. It's not all bad, but sometimes when you feel like you're out of it, you just spiral back into depression. But then there's always the fact that you might get out of it. So it's just up and down. It's not just something you just deal with or take meds to deal with. I mean, you can, but everyone has their own way of dealing with it. While I'm perfectly capable of handling depression, I need to be equipped with the right tools to do so. I'm not saying there's a fixed way to handle things, but I will share with you what has helped me cope through the past couple of years. Okay, so I don't know how those got in there, but just in case you're wondering, that's Marutaro, a hedgehog, and an internet sensation. Right, but seriously, seeking professional help, coming to terms with the fact that I might have a problem and that I might not be able to deal with it initially helped me immensely. Talking to a therapist or a counselor helped equip me with the self-awareness that I needed to help identify my symptoms and my triggers, and it helped cope with it on my own. Moreover, talking to people I care about also helped me a lot. This can go both ways. It'll either go really well or completely horribly, depending on how ignorant the people are. But if you keep it to yourself, you'll only end up isolating or alienating the people in your life. And sometimes it helps to get people involved, people you trust involved, and let them help you from time to time. It doesn't always have to be sage advice. Like, it's not like there's specialists or anything, but sometimes they help. A fresh perspective helps you identify toxic thought patterns that you might not notice. For example, one of the major problems with depression is that these negative thought patterns that are kind of hardwired into your brain, they seem perfectly rational and logical. So you might not even know it, but this might just be your reality. So talking to someone definitely helps. And for me, having a purpose helps a lot. Knowing who I want to be and where I want to be in the future really helps put things in perspective. Now, I'm not saying you need to have a purpose. If you don't have that figured out, that's perfectly okay. You don't need to have that figured out. Just do your own thing and figure it out yourself. If there's anything you have to take away from this speech, it's that you need to figure out what's comfortable for you, what helps you get through it, and not what other people tell you to do. Which is why it helps to talk to a therapist, because they kind of equip you with the tools that you need to identify your own comfort zone when it comes to dealing and coping with depression. As opposed to things that, aside from the things that we could do for ourselves, there's things that other people could do for us. One of them being showing a little empathy. Because not everyone is wired the same, and seeing things from someone else's perspective can go a long way. I don't want to speak in platitudes, but I wouldn't be speaking to you about a lack of empathy if that wasn't an actual problem for me when it came to coming out to people about depression. Because not a lot of people are aware of depression, especially in Asia, because they still treat it like something that's not talked about. Which brings me to my final point. and that is ending the stigma of talking about mental health. We're not crazy. We're people just like you. We exist. Our problems are real and have tangible consequences. A person in suffering is less likely to seek help in a society that shames or ridicules taboos ideas of mental health disorders. Creating a culture that encourages the discussion of mental health problems will go a long way in helping those of us that actually seek help and actively want it. And with that in mind, I would like to thank all of you for coming out today. It means a lot to me that you're here. Thank you so much, and be kind always.